Hunt Palmer's here with us right now, as he is every Friday. Hunt, very casual today.
Very casual today. It's going to be a company Christmas party day, so I'm going to not go to the office. I'm going to leave here,
Nice.
do the podcast, go home, knock 2 things out, and then drive to New Orleans.
Yeah, so tell the people where they can find your podcast.
They can find that on 1045ESPN.com. Hoops with Hunt, presented by Hungry Howie's.
Hey,
Promo code HOOP gets you 15% off your online order.
There
Unbelievable.
You go. There you go. Basketball and Howie's. And we'll talk some basketball, but first, we got to start with the guy that's on your shirt right now.
Yeah.
Of course, you wearing the beautiful purple and gold silhouette of Joe Burrow's head with the gold aviators. Hunt, how'd you take in last night's award show?
Well, I monitored the LSU stuff. I was watching a lot of golf last night.
That's right. Isn't the Ryder Cup going on right now?
Nah, President's Cup. Not as big a deal, but still.
Oh, I don't know. I just see some people on my Twitter popping off
I made sure every time an LSU, I was on Twitter, and every time an LSU award was coming up, I flipped over and watched it. And some of that stuff was important, but obviously Burrow cleaning up as he should. And I think the general consensus was that either the Maxwell or the O'Brien would go to someone else because they usually don't like to give the Heisman winner that award.
Yeah.
But I guess it was just too good to ignore, and they had to fall in line.
Well, it probably goes right in line with what everybody is saying, in that he may win the Heisman by one of the largest margins ever. In fact, like I said, the Athletic had their straw poll where they, get all their college football writers, and it was unanimous. It was like 54 first place votes, and a single player got another first place vote. So if that's the weather vane to kind of tell us where the directions are trending for tomorrow night, I feel very comfortable he's going to win the Heisman. Probably the most surprising news of the night last night was Grant Delpit taking home that Thorpe Award, and maybe the most impactful if you think about it from like a recruiting standpoint going forward.
That's where I'm going. I'm not shocked when Derek Stingley or Tre'Davious White says he wants to come to LSU. They're 5-star defensive backs, and they're from the state, and you keep them in state, and they play at LSU. But you look back at the out-of-state defensive backs that this team and this program have recruited over the last 10 years with Patrick Peterson and Kevin Tolliver. I'm not talking about what they did at LSU, but as terms of a recruit.
Yeah.
Kevin Tolliver, Grant Delpit, Jamal Adams, Jacoby Stevens, Elias Ricks coming in from they can go anywhere they want because of the stuff that goes on in that awards room and the Thorpe Awards that they rack up and the first-round draft picks that they put out and then the Pro Bowls that they make when they get out there. It's the most dominant run on a position that I've ever seen, and it's a real thing. I mean, the people bicker about, the DBU is stupid. It's just a thing they talk about on Twitter. No, it's not stupid because they go get the number 1 defensive back in the country almost every year because of it. Yeah. So the brand is so strong, and I was fired up when he got it last night. He didn't deserve it this year, but he deserved it last year, so just, he'll just have one. But for the program, it's huge to have that. I
agree. And look, Corey Raymond was already a damn good recruiter, and now he can go in there. And somebody was tweeting about this last night, but now he has a pitch that no one else can emulate just because of the award winners that they have produced. So shout out to Grant Delpit. And so Burrow takes home the O'Brien and the Maxwell. Unbelievable. Will win the Heisman Mar. Delpit takes home the Thorpe. And then how about Jamar Chase? I mean, so you talk about value on the recruiting trail. Remember, he was committed to Florida.
Mm-hmm. I heard a story about, you know why he was committed to Florida?
No.
Because someone in the LSU staff who's no longer there and is somewhere in the Big 12 decided that he should be playing defensive back.
What? Oh, my God, dude. Unbelievable.
Not great.
No. And then I know that when Coach O took over, he went to Chase's parents and he told them all these things, right? He told them, like, we're gonna go to a spread offense and we're gonna complete rework and Jamar's gonna have a lot of success. And like, how crazy it must have seemed for them after year 1, where the offense last year was all right and Chase did all right. He started to come on at the end, but it was not anything like what was promised. And so now a year later, it's just for him and his family, the journey's even been just unreal.
For Jamar and for Burrow, this offense never had a iffy game. I mean, the Auburn game, they had 500 yards. If you took the stats from the Auburn game and took that in a vacuum outside of all the other games and showed it to me in August, so this is what they're going to do against Auburn, I'd go, holy cow.
Yeah.
That's got to be the best game they played all year. It was the worst game they played all year.
Well, and it's like last night. So last night, because it's an award show, it kind of like, I think, you just start to go through the memories of the year, right? And you think back to the to the Georgia Southern game where they had all the gaudy stats. You're like, okay, it's Southern, right?
Right.
Week 2, you got to go on the road to Texas. Can you get it done? Bam. I mean, 3rd and 17, wave into the crowd, get that done. Well, then it's like, but Texas defense isn't that good. Can you do it against good defense? Then there's Florida, and there's Auburn. Then you go into the belly of the beast in Tuscaloosa.
First drive just went right down the field, Chase touchdown.
I mean,
I remember firing off a group text going, "We got a quarterback now!" Just like screaming.
And just like that, like, right, I mean, the 29-0 with that first touchdown to Chase. I mean, how fitting in that game. You have the Davey O'Brien and the Blitnikoff. In the SEC Championship, you have the Davey O'Brien and Blitnikoff to kick off the game. But in that Alabama game, gone immediately was the 29-0 of last season. It was a statement. They finished that statement. The most impressive part of that Alabama game as they're going down memory road is after a third quarter where everything goes against you, 2 75-yard touchdown drives when you have to have it. Joe Burrow, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It was amazing.
They had to have touchdowns in games against Texas on the road and Alabama on the road every time they got the ball late in the second half of the third quarter and fourth quarter, and they scored a touchdown every time.
Yeah. And even the Florida game where they start early down 28-21 and then they eventually bury Florida because of the onslaught and because the defense eventually locks in. And then you have the A&M game where it was clear at this point you had an apex predator who was ready to just kind of mess with its prey a little bit, like a cat, like messing with the mice. And then obviously the SEC championship. It's interesting to me in the SEC, like Clyde Edwards-Helaire may have actually been the superhero for the Bama game. To me, Joe Burrow was the superhero in the Georgia game. Whether it was the multiple times avoiding sure sacks, making huge plays, the opening touchdown, that throw to Chase when they're dropping 8 in coverage. Joe Burrow played out of his mind, and what an incredible end cap to the year that was. And now he cleans up on all these awards.
I watched the SEC Inside on the SEC Championship game, and after that touchdown, the first one against Georgia where they dropped 1 million people in coverage and he ran around and threw a touchdown, he got back to the bench and they had him mic'd up, and he sits down and goes, "That's another team that's not playing their defense."
Yeah.
Every week they showed up and they did something different. It didn't matter. They scored 40 points on everybody.
And so that's what's wild is that, I mean, like we talked about, that's a top 5 defense in the nation.
And it looked good.
Yes.
LSU was just better. They rushed the passer some. They disguised coverages at the end of the first half. Their DBs were making plays. You know how well they stopped the run. Like, they're good.
It's funny that you say that because talked about that on the podcast the other day. It's like, ironically, holding LSU to just 37 was actually a good defensive performance. Like, they contained a rushing attack that, according to Pro Football Focus, was the second most efficient in the nation this year. All right, Hunt, as we get you out of here, one quick one on basketball. What's the deal with Marlon Taylor? I know that Will Wade's talked about him a lot this season and his potential return.
Had foot surgery. He's tried to come back a few times, tried to practice, and just didn't feel right. So they just held him back. Because he was questionable the first week of the season, and now we're like a month in. He's going to come back on Wednesday. They've had all week off for finals. East Tennessee State comes in Wednesday. Good team. And Marlon Taylor is suspected to play in that game. I don't know that he'll start. He'll be on a minutes restriction. But as Will Wade always says, and I'm sure y'all will have him on soon, and he'll say it again, there are 3 or 4 plays in a game where Marlon Taylor is the only guy on the floor that can make them because he's 6'4", 6'5", and he jumps better than anybody on the floor.
Yeah.
So he immediately helps them defensively. He helps them rebounding, which they're going to need help doing. They've out-rebounded everybody except for 2 teams, but they're going to need help when it comes to the SEC and rebounding, and he helps you there. And obviously he's fun to watch when he gets up there and throws down dunks. So.
Yeah.
He's a nice piece, and they'll be excited to get him back here this week.
So if that bit of basketball tickled your fancy, check out Hoops with Hunt, brought to you by Hungry Howie's. It's on 1045ESPN.com. Hunt, thank you so much, man. Have a great weekend.
Y'all too.
Enjoy Casual Friday. We'll be back more. Close out hour number 1 next here on 1045, 100.3, 94.7 ESPN.